We're skipping now to the button, not because the button is difficult, but because the button enables validation. So our display is not going to be done, but we're going to go ahead and jump down here to say, okay, well, the button. Do we need to interact with the button? Well, not necessarily. So I'm going to say the submit button is going to be a new button. And the button, like everything else, has to go on the window or whatever other frame or whatever we have going on where everything's located. And then I'm going to put text in the button, which is going to be the send check. And then I need to place that button there somewhere. So let's do submit button dot grid, and the row is going to be 6. I can see it to the left here. Um, and the last row there, and the columns can be 3. We can put on the right hand side. So, I'm sorry, so 2, the third column. And let's do some padding on it. We did 10 on the other ones. We'll try and center it a little bit more. So let's do 30 padding inside of that. Let's just see if our button shows up. Yeah, there's a send check button. It's kind of padded. I mean, 30 might be a bit too much. Maybe I want to do 20 if I want to center it underneath that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter because, yeah, that looks better there. But maybe there's other fields that'll make this a little bit wider or something later on. I mean, we'll have to see. All right, so there you go. That's the button. That's not very interesting on the button. Um, so how can we make the button do something? Well, I've already given you a method here, which is what I want. You don't have to use this method necessarily, but it's a place where I can say, well, when I process the check, writing check now. Now this is not real functionality, but this just lets us know that we're able to connect essentially this button. When the button gets pressed, this is the work I want to do with it. So the way the button works is I have to connect by passing in a method to it, the command method, right? So I want to say, what command do I want to send in? Well, I can create a function. I can create a function locally if I want to, or I can call an existing function, such as one on the object. I can say self dot process check. Oops, no parentheses, right? If I do the parentheses, I'm calling the method. So self.processCheck is the name of this method right here. It's a function as well that I can pass into the command. So I know this works if I hit this button and, oh, look, writing check now, writing check now, writing check now, writing check now. So you should be able to make this happen, right? That's how we connect the button to our functionality there. So great, we got that. We got that part connected. Let me tell you briefly, if your function you want to call needs some parameter to it, and that parameter is available somewhere locally in the code, you can always go through and just create a function here, send, right? And then in your send method, you can call self.processCheck XYZ, whatever parameters you might want to pass inside of there. And then over here, you just say send. And that's a fun little workaround if for some reason you want to pass something to some other method. But for the most part, you'll create a method, maybe create a function that its only job is to respond to the GUI, and that's what we're creating here. So this write checking method is useful, but again, it's not useful on its own because now I need data. I need to get, what was the date that you put in? What was the amount you put in? Who am I paying the check to? How much was the check amount? Who signed it? What was the memo? I have to put all those things into the check. So how do I do that stuff? Well, when I print the check, I have accessibility to any of the fields that I set up to have accessibility to. Because I said self.date input, for example. And so when I say self.date input, I can go through, run my item. So let's put a date in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I hit send check, and it's printing out. Well, what did it print out? Display over here. It printed out dot bang exclamation point frame dot bang entry. What does that mean? Oh, well, it's in a frame, right? I put it in a frame. That date is in a frame, and it is an entry. The input. The text box is called an entry. So remember that the entry itself is not one more time, is not the actual data. The entry itself is just simply, um, you know, the box. So how do I get the value out of the box? Well, that's actually insanely simple once you've seen it and once you know it. Let's get right there. Let's run that again. So we go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, send check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. I put the extra 4 in there. So when I say .get, it gets what's ever in that box. Now, in other languages, it gets text, get value, get whatever. In Python, when they wrote this up, they said just get. That just get. That's all we need to is we just need to get it. Now, this is the start of the work you can do. But this is going to be the date value, for example. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a valid date. So I should check a few things. So I can do things like if date value dot strip, right? Strip off the white space. If the length of date value dot strip is greater than 0, well, then I have that's valid. Else, no date given. And now this is just printing stuff out to the text box, which is not really what I want to have happen. Oops, sorry, I forgot my colon here. Right? So if I do nothing here, no date given. If I put something inside of here, it shows something. If I put space, 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 space inside of here, no date given. Right? So it looks, I put something inside of there, but if I leave that, it doesn't look like I put anything inside there. Well, I didn't. I just put some spaces inside of there. So this is where you get into validation, which is, by the way, was another exercise. Back in looping, we talked about validation, and now we're back to that. We get some text, we validate it. How do I validate this is a date? Well, I'm looking for a slash, and there should be a valid month before that. A slash should be a valid date between the two slashes, day of the month between the two slashes, and then a year, which should be valid in some way. You don't have to be ridiculously insane on that, but just some basic validation, make sure it fits that format. That's good enough, right? Advanced is making sure the number of days matches the right month and whatnot. That's where you get paid for all that stuff. But this is how I can tie into that field. I can get a value from that field, and then I can start to validate values from that field. So if we go back to the problem assignment, well, this is not the problem assignment. And I don't have the problem assignment up right now. But we can see you get credit for validating different things. So the date, you need to make sure that somebody that paid the order of, there's some text inside of here. This should be a number, and it should be a number less than $1,000. This can be present or not, doesn't matter. And then the authorized signature is supposed to match one of the code's not showing up here, one of the authorized signature names that came in as part of the account holders. So you should probably save the account holders and then check to make sure that it matches there. So I'll leave that bit to you. That's just some if then else logic, some checking beyond that, now that we have these pieces put together. The last big thing is to validate and process that check amount inside of there. So the validate check amount, what I would actually say is that's going to be, once you get the check amount, right, you're going to somewhere say check amount is going to string, like what you're going to get. You're going to be getting that the field you're creating, right? You're creating the field, you're going to get that from your field. And then you can just say validate check amount for, wow, I am not typing well today. Check amount string, that the one you get, or you can just get it straight from the field. Well, however you pass it right in.